I feel like when I test the microphone, I should say something a bit more interesting, and then I could use it in the podcast, because I'm just like testing microphone, and who wants to hear that? Literally nobody. Oh, hello. Good evening for me. I don't know what time it is for you, but I've got a hot chocolate. It's pretty massive. And basically, today I'm talking about toxic relationships. I look a bit like a bank robber because it's very cold in the UK right now. I don't know what the temp is, and I can't find out because I don't know how to use... Oh, there we go. It says it's 6 degrees, but I don't believe it. Yeah, no, 6. Oh, sorry. That was a big gulp. Okay. Yeah, no, it's cold. -1 overnight. I've recently had some issues with toxic relationships. I really wish I didn't look like a bank robber, but I'm very sorry. I don't know what to do about that. It's really cold, and I don't want to put the heating on because money. And actually, I've warmed up quite a lot. You know, the hat. Guys, if you don't want to spend money on heating, buy a hat. I'm just going to go turn the lights down. That's better, I think. It was just a little bit too much. Like, it was a bit too, like, white and glary. We're also going for a different angle today because I've moved my computer screen. Okay, so I've recently had... Let's just get into the stuff. What am I talking about? I've recently had, and in the past, to be honest, issues with toxic relationships. Relationships are difficult, and I don't mean like romantic relationships. I mean just general human relationships. God, are they complicated. That's what we're known for. Just being the complicated species, I feel. It's like, oh, there's so much I could say. People just hold grudges, there's jealousy, there's people being, I don't know, upset, and then people get angry, and then cheating, and oh my god, I could go on and on and on. I feel like if you're an animal, like an actual like non-human animal, I say that because humans are animals, if you didn't know that, a non-human, I feel like your life might be a little bit more like primal, unless you're like a little dog or something and you get looked after. But I feel like your life might be a bit more primal, maybe a bit more dangerous. You know, you could starve or fall off something or whatever. But your relationships are far less complicated. Most what are they called? Species. Most species they like fight for mates and then have sex and then that's kind of it. And then have their kids and then do it all over again. But we have gone down an alternative path. And it's just because we've got like big brains and shit. But we're just way more complicated. So there's a lot more space for toxicity. And firstly, toxic relationships. I'm mainly talking about adult life, but I'm going to start from the beginning, okay? Because everybody loves a good story, don't they? I'm so effing tired. Like, I really wanted to nap, and I toyed with myself, went backwards and forwards for about half an hour, which was a waste of time, really, because I was like, firstly, I couldn't figure out what to do, and then I was like, well, do I even want a podcast? And I was like, Dawn, you're doing it. And then, so I was like, okay, you're doing it. And I was hoping to record all 3 for the week this week, but then I've had such a busy day. I got up at 8 a.m. and if you don't know me, I am very much a 10 a.m. / 12 a.m. / maybe even later a.m. p.m. person. I am not a morning person. So for me to get up at 8 a.m. off my own volition, something's happened. I think what happened was, weirdly, the heating woke me up, which is never a bad way to start the day. But it was like noisy and it woke me up. And then I had the postman, he was picking up, or she, I didn't see them. They were picking up a parcel, actually 3 parcels. And then yesterday I realised that one of them was a medium parcel and I paid for a small parcel. So I was like, I've got to get up and change it because they're going to be here at like 9ish or whatever. Why am I talking about this? Why? I think I just talked about that for 2 minutes. I'm so sorry. This is why I have a podcast, so that I can get all of this random shit out, and then in a way you're kind of, you're not forced to listen to me, but you've started, so you may as well finish. I might say some witty things along the way. It's been known to happen, but I have a very bad grasshopper mind. It's all over the place. Maybe I will do an episode about this one day because it's a prevalent issue in my life. I go off on tangents. If my videos aren't like somewhat planned, like when I first started my videoing on YouTube, they were a mess. Like the editor, I honestly feel so sorry for you because I didn't know what I was doing. I would just record sort of like random shit that didn't make any sense and then hope for the best, really. And just I'd put my faith in other people to sort out my mess, which story of my life. Okay, God, what was I talking about? I feel like I need somebody in the corner that like holds up a whiteboard and says, you were talking about this, and then I can just restart, or my memory could just get better. And why is there hot chocolate down the side? How did you get out of there, you scoundrel? You scallywag? Okay. I feel like toxic relationships initially start in school, really, don't they? I was bullied. Who wasn't? I don't know anybody that wasn't bullied. Like, I feel like children, this is why I don't really like children that much. I just think they're too honest. I'm an honest person, but I do have a filter. And people don't think I do, but promise me. Wait, I promise you, I do. I have a filter. There are things that go on in my brain that don't come out of my mouth. Sometimes there are things that go on in my brain that come out of my mouth before they've even happened in my brain. And I'm like, oh, how did that happen? That's a rare occasion, but that's often a scary time. So you're kind of forced together with all these randos in school that you don't really know. And then you're usually in like a class of 30, unless you're like really rich, and then maybe like not 40. I think I had a class of like 20 or 30. Like, I don't think it was loads, but yeah, primary school is savage. They're just, I think I might be like a little child a bit, but like I also don't know right now. I don't know because I don't really like them, but maybe I don't like myself. Oh, I don't know what happened there. So yeah, I was bullied in school. Look, I was a little bit of a chubbo. Wait there, I'll reverse that sentence. I am a little bit of a chubbo. It never went away. It's just in my genes. Like, I've always been, even when I wasn't like overweight, or maybe I was always overweight, but no, I think I wasn't. Even when I wasn't overweight as a child, I was still just chunky. Like, I've always been chunky. I've always had, my dad would say, big bones, but just genetically I'm chunkier. My bones are no different, I don't think. Duh. But I feel like I'm redlining this audio quite heavily. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'll move it away a bit and that'll make it better. I'm sorry if I've just been taking your ears off for the past 10 minutes. So yeah, no, I've just always been chunkier. But the caveat to that is that yes, I've been chunkier, but I've always managed, like, I put on muscle so easily. Like, I don't know if you know, you probably don't. I used to be a competitive weightlifter and powerlifter, and it was just not easy, but like it was kind of natural to me. I never struggled to gain strength. So although I was chunkier, I was much, much stronger than the little stick children. But I also went into puberty like at 11 and shot up to the whole 5'1", but I shot up to 5'1", and then that was it for the rest of my life. Like, I've never moved. So there we go. So you also get a bit chunkier when you hit puberty, don't you, because of like fat and stuff. But yeah, I've always been on the chunkier side, and I think that's, everybody has something they're bullied about, and if you haven't, then you're probably the bully. Sorry to break it to you, but I just remember some horrible things like being said and being really self-conscious. Still am, not less so, but you're kind of forced with these people, and children are just a bit horrible, aren't they? They just say what they think. I've made a really good hot chocolate today. Yesterday I made one, and I stupidly decided that because it's a big mug, it splashed out again. Because it's a big mug, I thought I'll put double the amount of hot chocolate. It's this cocoa bar, right? So it was supposed to be 2 squares. I put 4 in. It was like the thickest chocolatey gloop I've ever drunk. I don't recommend it. Just like, you can always add more, but you can't take it away. So if you take any lesson away from today, it's that lesson. Like my ginger yesterday, I made a green smoothie and put ginger in it, and I nearly put double the amount in, and then I was like, maybe I should just put this amount in, and then I can add more if it's not gingery enough. And trust me, it was gingery enough, so there we go. So then I moved on to med school. By the way, sorry if you just heard that burp, that was really gross. Actually it wasn't, it was quite mild. Med school was not a toxic place at all. Like, everyone was really nice. Everybody was like in their group, but everyone got on with each other. I was going to say, not all of these stories are about me. I might have just said that and just not realised. Anyway, med school for me, was a very nice place. Maybe I don't know, I don't think I bullied anybody, but I literally just said like less than 5 minutes ago, if you didn't get bullied, then you're the bully. But anyway, I think people in med school are just generally nice, we're doctors and caring and shit like that. So, there's a bit of drama, but not much. That is some good hot chocolate right there. Put a little bit of honey in it too, so that made it a bit nicer, because this stuff is like 100% cacao. It's like the hard stuff. It looks like chocolate, but it's not. Don't eat it. So you have to kind of put a little bit of sweetener in it, otherwise it's a bit bitter. Anyway, so yeah, that's all I've got to say about med school. I don't really have any dramatic stories from it. There were a few arguments. They're not my arguments to tell really, but mainly relationship, like romantic relationship, boy stuff. So nothing that involved me. But I am going to tell you about somebody else's story now. So I have a friend who is in a different field of university. That was a weird sentence. Who's studying something different at university to medicine. And I may as well say it. She's doing law, and basically there's lots of like toxicity in the I feel a bit awkward when I say other people's stories, because I feel like people might be like, are you talking about me? In fact, everybody always thinks I'm talking about them. The truth is that I'm not, okay? Because if you think I'm talking about you, it's more than likely that that's not the case, because there are a lot of people I know, and I know you're the centre of your own world, but that doesn't mean you're the centre of mine. That was a harsh comment right there. Okay, hot chocolate's gone. I might keep the cup though because it's warm. So from hearing about what she said, law sounds like a very different story. And she's doing it up north. I haven't really been up north, but I don't really know what it's like up there and whether it's different to down here, but the general consensus is that it's a bit like dog eat dog. Very different to my experience in medical school, where everyone was some people were what you'd call a gunner in medical school. It was like they wanted to do well on the tests, and they kind of wanted everybody else to know they'd done well as well. But a gunner is more like, I will stand on you to get where I want, and that it does happen in medicine. Don't get me wrong. In fact, it's quite common in sort of surgical specialties. It's a bit more common, less so in others. But yeah, law sounds awful. I don't know, maybe there are some nice people, but generally I think people that go into law are maybe a little bit more on the argumentative side. I don't know. Don't come at me. Don't sue me if I'm wrong, if I'm making any assumptions. I don't know. But I feel like maybe a bit more like people, the thing that people think about lawyers is maybe that they're a bit less trustworthy, that they might manipulate, or I don't know. So I feel like it kind of breeds more of a toxic environment. Oh boy, we're getting on to the real meat of the story here, and that is work toxicity. It's not really something I've had to deal with until fairly recently, and I've heard other stories about work toxicity from other people, not in medicine specifically, but in also public sector roles. And I don't know if that's a unlucky thing. Oh, sorry. I don't know if that's an unlucky thing, or if that's, there's kind of showing the pressures on the systems right now, on the public sector systems, or whether I have no other options. I don't know. I think it could be multifaceted, to be honest. One thing may not be controlling all of the toxicity. And I think there's definitely some element of, I don't know, because I've never worked in other work environments, really. I have worked in hospitality, but really briefly, and that was not fun for me. And then medicine, and that's kind of it. Oh god, I'm so sorry. I went to bed at like 3 last night, and then stupidly woke up at 8, so I've had 5 hours of sleep. And then I've got to go tonight to improv in about half an hour, so I was hoping I could do this in half an hour and then have a nap and then go, but That sounds like a bad idea to me. It sounds like a bad idea if I ever did had one. So, bitching feels good, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel good just to get all of that shit out of your system? And I found that when I came out of some of the toxic work environments I've worked in, none specifically being talked about here, but when I've come out of them, I've found myself being more bitchy in other situations. Being like, I don't know, I go to a group session for something, and then afterwards I'll be like, oh, they weren't, in my head I'm thinking, oh, they weren't like that good or whatever, they were a bit awkward. And then I think, I can't say that out loud because that just, it encourages a toxic environment. And I know that it's just the toxicity seeping in from another aspect of my life, seeping in from there, and it's sort of sitting, it's lingering, I can't really wash it off, and then it's trying to like seep its way back out, but I'm like, no, you will get digested and you will be excreted, and that is it. The end. So, oh my god, I can't control my bodily functions today. I'm burping, I'm yawning. I'm sorry, I'm just not homeostatic today. I think some of the thing with bitchy work or just toxic bitchy environments, not necessarily work, is that you end up, it feels good to bitch, you feel included, you don't want to feel left out, you also don't want to be the person that's bitched about, even though if they're bitching about other people, they are almost definitely bitching about you. Sorry, I'm telling you that. Because if they've got the propensity to be able to bitch behind other people's backs, then in front of you, then they've got the ability to do that about you to other people. Sadly. So it's really hard not to get yourself sucked into that, because it does feel so tempting and so good. And you kind of don't want to get left behind, I suppose. But remember that if you're in a bitchy environment, then that can so easily be turned around on you. Then it's like you say something about somebody that, okay, let's say I said, Jennifer's hair's not very good. And then someone called Emma likes Jennifer. So then Emma goes, did you know that Dawn said your hair wasn't very good? And then they start bitching about me, and then somebody else is there, and then they're bitching, and then it just goes round and round and round, and then everybody's bitching. And I just think if you just don't get involved in it, take the higher ground, let it happen in front of you. If you feel comfortable, say, guys, this is really like an appropriate conversation. It's hard to stand up for that when you know what the kind of comeuppance is going to be. I'm using lots of long words today, and I don't know if they're right. We're going to roll with it. I think toxic work environments come down from the seniors, in my opinion. And everybody's like, there's no hierarchy in hospital. Well, there is. Sorry, but there is. It's a commonly known fact. And it kind of exists for a reason, and it's nice to flatten it. Yes, I get that. But there is a hierarchy. There's a money hierarchy. There's a decision hierarchy. There's a pay... No, that's money. There's a parking hierarchy. There's a rewards hierarchy. I don't know if there's a rewards one. Do we get rewarded in hospital? I don't know. But there's a seating hierarchy, that's for sure. I think if the seniors... Oh, it's really hard just talking on your own non-stop, because I think you end up breath holding, and that's why you yawn. Like, that's my opinion, or I have no medical knowledge to back that up, That's what I'm thinking is happening. So I just think report it to a senior who is not involved in the bitching, who I think you're in a difficult situation when they're involved in the bitching too, but there must be one person that's not, or an outside person who's senior who is not. And I know people have like whistleblown in hospital and it's not gone well, but there are plenty more hospitals in that ocean, okay? So you can just move. I don't know, it's never happened to me, but I know people it's happened to. And I'm not saying every whistleblower ends up in that situation, but that's my experience of my 2 whistleblowers that I've known. I don't know what they whistleblowed about. I'd quite like to know because I'm quite nosy, but I think it goes without saying that if you've got a toxic romantic relationship or a toxic friendship, why are you still in that? Like, I get it. Okay, let's remove the kind of abuse situation. In fact, let's remove romantic relationships from that completely, because that's more complicated than we can even get into right now. Because, you know, there's abuse and then there's control and there's situations where you can't really leave and children and whatever. Let's talk about friendships. I feel like we haven't done that so much. I don't think I've had many toxic friends, and that's because I just don't associate with people that I don't like. I have nothing to prove to anybody, and if they don't like that, then to be honest, I'm wise enough that I'm like, I really don't care. Like, I just don't. I value my time and energy too much to be faffing with your issues. As in, no, that might be taken wrongly. I fully support my friends who have issues, but I mean people who treat you like shit and they might be, you know, bitchy behind your back, or they might fuck you over, or they might just gaslight you or make you feel bad, or make you feel like gaslight you, like done something that wrong when you haven't, or things like that. I just think if somebody doesn't make you happy, then what is the point? Isn't life made to be enjoyed? And if people are just bringing you down, I'm sorry, but just cut them out of your life. Like, that's my honest thought. I understand it's easier said than done, but at some point the switch will flick and you'll go, what have I been doing for this whole time? I'm going to tell you a fun fact quickly about cameras, and I figured out why they only record for 30 minutes, and that's because this is a camera. I don't know what the difference is, but this is a camera, not a video recorder. I'm way more out of breath than I should be for just walking around the table. Yeah, I sound like I've just run up a flight of stairs. So, what was I even saying? Oh yeah, video cameras are, for tax reasons, more tax intensive than a camera. So to make this not a camera, not a video recorder and just a camera, you have to put a time cap on how long you can record for, which is half an hour, to make it not a video recorder. Because I looked it up the other day on the internet, because I wanted to change the fact that I have to get up every half an hour. It really would be great. So there are ways to do it, but I don't need to bore you with those because you're not interested and that's not what you came here for. What else do I have to say about toxic relationships? Probably lots, but I can always go into more specific detail, leave a comment or something like that. Humans are complicated. I'll end with that one, because they are. Yeah, leave a comment if you're on the YouTube. If you're on the podcast, please rate it, unless you think it's rubbish, and then just don't leave a review, if that's all right. No, I probably shouldn't discourage that. If you think it's rubbish, can you just like tell me why, and then at least I can fix it? Because, well, maybe just don't listen. No, I would quite like to know why you don't like it, because constructive feedback is always welcomed. Maybe not on a public forum, but yeah, you could just email me, contact@diariesofadoctor.com. Let me know why I'm shit. Go on. Or if you're feeling positive, you could tell me, you know, just like, wow, you're really good. I love your podcast. I love how dry and sarcastic you are. People do not get my humour sometimes. I think people think I'm being like serious, and then because I'm not like you get that, I'm just like, that's me just pulling a non-existent silent face. I feel like let's end the podcast with some backseat positivity. What does that even mean? Okay, well, the positivity was in the backseat, and then we drove the person in the front seat home, which was the toxic person. So then what happens? The positivity doesn't sit in the back the whole time. She gets out and she gets in the front seat so that she can sit with you and hold your hand because you've had a really bad time with the toxic person. That is how nice positivity is to you. So, you know, a nice warm but not sweaty hand holding you whilst you're trying to change gear. So that might make things a bit more difficult, and it's probably not wanted. But there we go. So how are we going to be positive? This might take a while. No, I'm joking. I mean, that kind of makes sense now. That analogy makes sense as to why it's backseat positivity. There are so many reasons, you know. It could be backseat positivity. I would just want you to take your own reason. Just take your own reason and say, yeah, that's what it is. And if you come up with a really good reason that was better than that analogy, which I doubt that you'll get one that's better than that, then please comment it, because I'd like to know, and I'll use it in my podcast. I will. I read all my comments because I don't have that many. Okay, let's do toxic relationships or good relationships. I know, I'm going to talk about a really good relationship that's never been toxic, really, and that is me and Izzy. You have seen her on the podcast. I actually grieved the loss of her maybe a few months ago because I thought she didn't want to be my friend anymore. Turned out that was not the case, and we've been friends for 10 years now, and I feel like our friendship hasn't really changed. We're both very similar, and I'd never know if that's because we have like grown up together or known each other for so long, or whether we became friends because we're quite similar. We're both very dry, we're both quite sarcastic, we're both quite blunt, and we both like dancey kind of music and animals, and we're both very short. I don't think our relationship has ever been toxic. I'm not even sure we've ever had an argument. I remember not really being great friends with her at the start, but we quickly got to know each other and became really good friends. But yeah, I don't think we've ever argued. She might say differently, but I literally don't think we have argued about anything. We're like fairly honest with each other, I'd say. She doesn't make me feel like shit anyway, but I don't think I make her feel like shit, I hope. She still spends time with me, so, you know, that's always a good sign. But, yeah, there's how to have a non-toxic relationship. I think some people are just toxic, and unfortunately it's not really changeable. So it's not like mine and Izzy's relationship was ever like toxic and we turned it around. I think I've met toxic people in my life and been like, unfortunately, you're now not in my life because I don't think you're going to change. Like, I think if you're an adult, maybe over your 20s, like your early 20s, that'll change. But if you're like a late 20s adult, I think it's going to be more difficult. There's exceptions, of course there is, people going through difficulties or whatever, but generally that makes people not a toxic person. It tends to make them like sad or a bit recluse or whatever, less toxic. Anyway, that's my backseat positivity. I hope you enjoyed it. I need to record some more episodes for the week, but this one is actually going up on a Monday for once. I will be better, I promise. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do the things that I said earlier. Comment, like it if you liked it, review it if you liked it. Give me some suggestions. What do you want me to talk about? I'll do it. I will. Bye.